Welcome back. This is the Dan Porter Show. South Africa is a movie.
Welcome to the watch party!
Yes, indeed. Now, South Africa really is the film, and it seems like we never run out of new scripts, new plots, and new material. And you may have noticed this weekend a totally new kind of story started to break in the South African media. The story was that there was a plane of well over 100 Palestinians that had landed at OR Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg, seemingly from Israel via Kenya. And so they'd gone past Kenya and then they'd come down. And for some reason, these seeming Palestinian refugees weren't being let off the plane by a combination of border control and the Department of Home Affairs. But no one from either of those organizations, those government departments, came out and told us what was actually going on. And then we started to hear more and more concerning stories about these Palestinians on this plane suffering in awful conditions without enough food and water or medical supplies. There were reports of a woman being in labor, like about to have a baby with no medical support on the plane, about a young person having some kind of fit, maybe an epileptic one. And it became more and more and more alarming until the right people got involved. And I'm so delighted to welcome someone who is objectively a national treasure, whether he likes to hear that or not, from an organization that does so much good all around the world, and it did good with this exact crisis this weekend. Please welcome, from Gift of the Givers, who has flown into Joburg for this interview, thank you for that, the one, the only, Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Every time I see you, another crazy story. What happened this weekend?
Well, you only see me when there's a crazy story.
Yes.
There's no other time. Well, it wasn't the weekend, it was on Thursday. And actually, that's the second flight. That's when the red flag went up. You know, on the 28th of October, a flight comes into OR Tambo Airport. Nobody knows about it. Is it like common practice to have refugees from a war zone just to fly into OR Tambo? Is this something that happens every week? No. 176 passengers on the plane. They get off. They don't know where to go. They got accommodation for one night. They were promised accommodation for 4 months. They were promised resettlement. They were promised asylum and total care in the country.
Who made them those promises?
An organization called Al-Majd.
Okay.
An Arabic name meaning glory, making sure that these passengers come through Gaza after paying $2,000 or more each, going through Israeli territory right up to Eilat and going to Ramon International Airport to fly to Kenya. I mean, this is not human trafficking. What is this?
Right.
And then so they get to Kenya. They don't actually know where they're going. When they cross the border, they can't take their clothes. They can't take their luggage. They can't take anything. They can only take what they're wearing on their backs. And they get to Kenya, but when they leave, they're not sure whether they're going to Malaysia, Indonesia, or wherever. But to them, it didn't matter. They want to get out of hell.
Right.
They want a life for the children, a future. They've seen too much death, destruction. Now it's raining, it's pouring, there's floods everywhere.
Wow.
They just want to get out of that situation, which they've been in for 2 years for the war. And of course, all their lives in Gaza, the biggest open-air prison in the world.
And there was no guaranteed accommodation for 4 months, or work, or resources, or anything?
Except the first night, where they were spread, and they were promised quality accommodation, but they were given low-level accommodation spread throughout Joburg, so they were not even together. And by chance, they were found by Pastor Nigel Branken, because some social activist said, hey, do you know there's some Palestinian people here in the country? Nobody knows about them.
This was the first flight?
The first flight, October 28th. And that's how it led to us knowing about the second flight.
Crazy. And
so they were displaced all over in total distress, afraid, and also they got strange messages on the phone. Don't go out. Don't talk to anybody. South Africa is a dangerous country. People find out, they will kill you. Don't move anywhere. So put absolute fear. To me, this was a way of saying, don't let anybody know what we did, where we took you, so maybe we can bring the next load too, you know, undercover. And that's what happened. Unfortunately, we only managed to trace 85 out of 176. Some of them probably moved on to other countries, like what happened in the second plane. But coming to the second plane, it was a family, a mother and a father of the pregnant daughter. Their parents told us of this plane. But they were not sure it was coming to South Africa. So they kept saying, this plane is going, but we don't know. It was only in Nairobi, when they got a boarding pass, it said Johannesburg. And at that part of the night, we then realized this plane is coming to South Africa.
Okay, they land on the tarmac, and this time, a combination of Home Affairs and Border Security don't let them off the plane for ages, right?
Yes.
So for how long were they held on the plane, and why, in your understanding, were they not let off?
13 hours.
13 hours.
But there's something that's very sinister here. You see, when a plane comes to any country, civil aviation has to get a message, a manifest, to say this is a charter plane. There's in the second case, 153 Palestinians on board. The alarm bell should have gone off.
Yeah.
But how come there's no record of that? Nobody knows about it. And how did they allow them to land without clearance of the civil aviation? So to me, the Department of Transport and Civil Aviation have got a case to answer in Parliament or wherever.
Not Home Affairs, Transport.
No, that's the first sector.
Okay.
Because civil aviation is controlled by Transport, Department of Transport.
And somehow a plane landed with no record of it landing.
And maybe they've got a record, I don't know, but nobody seems to know about this, right? Refugees can come in because people won't take any notice, because Palestinians can come to the front door of our airport. They have a 90-day visitor's visa. They don't have to apply in front. They just get it at the counter so that they can walk through. Okay. But a plane load from a war zone, that is suspicious.
Totally.
That's right. And here's the difficult part, or the part that doesn't make any sense. They tell you they didn't have an exit stamp on their passport. But how did the first load then come in, get off the plane without the exit stamp and go to the borders? How do you explain that?
Weird.
So it means, to me, there's some collusion taking place, you know, and Border Management Authority, which falls under Home Affairs, should be investigated. Now, here's the funny part. When I called the DIRCO, remember, this got nothing to do with DIRCO. People want to blame DIRCO. Immigration has nothing to do with DIRCO.
That's the diplomatic corps, DIRCO.
If you go to an embassy anywhere in the world and you ask for a visa, it's Home Affairs. It's not DIRCO.
Right.
So when I spoke to people in DIRCO, they said, but we had spoken about the first plane, and in the event another plane comes or something comes, you know what, there should be no issue. They said there will be no issue. And then when I spoke to somebody high up, they said, but we've been engaging them for 2 days because we had some knowledge of this plane coming. And we were totally ignored. Nobody responded to us.
DIRCO was ignored?
Yes, totally ignored, right? And I got it all in writing. And in any case, I phoned somebody that we know in the Border Management Authority and said, look, the plane has come, it's 8:05, people should get off the plane, they've traveled for a long time, Palestinians are allowed into South Africa, what's the issue? It's a standard thing, they can be allowed into South Africa. No, they don't have an exit stamp. Oh, okay?
So what?
But don't they, you know, at least, okay?
Yeah.
You have, while you're assessing and checking out, why don't you take them off the plane?
Yeah.
Put them in some part of the building.
Yeah.
Give them water and food.
Yeah.
Let them go to the bathroom. If they need medical care, do that. Why keep them on the plane? They couldn't answer that. We sent the food to the airport. It was still denied for over 2 hours, was not taken to them on the plane. And then when I spoke to Border Management Authority, no, it's clear, don't worry, they get off the plane. All credit to Pastor Nigel Frank, Naeem Gina, and Zahira Bam. They were there on site. Asked them, are they coming off? No, they're not coming off. I said, you're making a mistake. They're coming off, check properly. No, they're not coming off. Why? I said, I was given the guarantees 3 or 4 times already. They're coming off. No, they're not coming off. And then later on in the day, we hear that the letter, and I saw the letter and I got a copy, was sent from Border Management Authority to the plane company to say at 7:30 tonight, meaning Thursday night, put all those people back on the plane and take them back where you came from.
What?
Yes.
So Border Management Authority was telling this organization...
Not at the plane company.
The plane company...
Global Aviation, which flies Sullivan Airlines.
To take them back to Nairobi?
Yes.
Why would they tell them to do that?
They said, to their knowledge, they haven't asked for asylum. But you don't have to go to another country to ask for asylum.
Yes.
There's 4 acts in the Refugee Act. Act number 21 tells you that if somebody comes to your front door and says they want asylum, it doesn't matter whether they have paperwork, passport, documentation, where they came from, what the story is, you're allowed, you have to listen to them.
So who do we need an explanation from now?
From
Home
Civil
Affairs
Aviation,
and
Border Management
Transport.
Authority,
Okay.
and Home Affairs.
Okay, so Transport is Barbara Creasy.
Yes.
As the minister. Home Affairs is Leon Schreiber.
Yes.
We need to hear from them.
Yes.
And they haven't yet given anything.
Well, that's not my job now. State security and the government, but I call on the president directly to say do an investigation. But I know there was a very high-level cabinet meeting.
You call on the president directly?
Well,
please give me his number. I've been trying to book him on this show for such a long time. I want to WhatsApp him.
Yeah. They don't take the call, obviously. You get it through the people in the office. But they did say last night, I was told, privately, there was a very important meeting to discuss this, an urgent meeting, because it's not good for South Africa. And the worst thing about all this, you know, people don't understand the damage they caused to our reputation. You know, we got a G20 coming this weekend. People are not happy with us hosting it. Other countries have pulled out. We've got people in political parties and in our country who are agents for foreign governments, who want to spoil our name, taint our name, make us look stupid and backward because we're African. Africa is always regarded as the bad, spoiled child. We need to prevent that. We need patriots, we don't need traitors, you know? And so, if you look at the media, all over the world, what does it say? South Africa denies entry to 153 Palestinian
Which is crazy because of our long-time advocacy for an allyship with Palestinians. But I'm so glad that we got to hear the story from you, maybe one of the most in-the-know people there is. Thank you, Gift of the Givers, as always, for the work you do. Thank you for your time. Thank you for flying here for this interview. It's Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, everybody. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.